Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about two things. One is taking responsibility for yourself, and the second thing is thinking in the long term. So, these are two core concepts, mindsets that's going to help you become free, quit your job, pursue freelancing, entrepreneurship of all sorts, or whatever. Right? So, let's talk about them in detail. So, one is thinking in the long term. All the examples I'm going to give you are going to be related to freelancing, but you can apply them in business as well. So the first thing you need to do is a lot of people say you have to jump in, and a lot of people love to work in the pressure, right? Uh, I personally found that that approach has not worked for me. Uh, Pressure tends to make me very chaotic. I like to do things deliberately, taking my own time, do it with perfection, right? And when you do things with pressure, a lot of things go wrong, too much of collateral damage. So I tend to avoid that. So if you tend to disagree with me, I'm okay with that because I'm just telling things that have worked for me and things that could work for a lot of you out there who are like me, right? So the first thing you need to do is you have to give yourself some room, right? But it need not be too much. A lot of people advise that um, save money for a year before starting to freelance, right? I personally did not save for a year. The first time I tried, I saved for a year, but the second time I saved for like 3 months because this time I was more confident about finding clients, doing things, basically because I learned a lot of lessons that gave me a lot of confidence, right? And perhaps in the future, it looks like I'll never be working a job again, um, but it's a complete mindset shift, because the things that were completely unknown in my head are now known, right? Coming back on track with thinking long term. So, what do I mean by thinking long term? So, for example, let's say something goes wrong with a client, right? Um, and he's not happy. So, usually, how I deal with it is either I study it, I find out if something has gone wrong, and if the client has misunderstood what I said, I take full responsibility for that, right? Within reasons, of course, because you cannot misunderstand stuff beyond a certain point. So I take it my personal responsibility to make sure they understand what I say in my emails, what I say about the design specifications, everything, right? And when something goes wrong, I go as far as giving them 50% refund or doing some more extra work just to keep them happy, right? Um, Now, this is not a 100% rule, but this is just a mindset I have, which is when something goes wrong, I don't waste time worrying about, oh my God, this went wrong or this went right. Not right, wrong. I'd rather think about it as I'm learning it. So I'm learning by making mistakes. So mistakes not in the form of technology design, but more in the form of process and communication and what I'm doing. So if I tell a client something and there has been a misunderstanding, then I take complete responsibility because it's my responsibility to communicate to the client. And the clients love me for that. And what happens is it kind of takes your mind off your failures or things that go wrong, because every step you're telling yourself you're going to learn. You're learning because you're making mistakes and learning. And the mistake I make once, I'm not going to make it again with my second client. And I slowly become this guy who people never negotiate because they just understand my quality and my experience of dealing with clients. So I make it as smooth as possible for these people who come on board. The second thing is, I already told you, taking responsibility. Now, a lot of people out there, especially designers and developers, have this habit of blaming their clients. There's a website called Clients from Hell, and this is usually a very loser behavior. If you're doing this, you're a fucking loser, all right? And I was a loser, and there's nothing wrong with it. All of us are going to be losers at some point. It's better to learn from it. Stop doing that. Stop saying that clients are bad. Stop blaming your cat and your cat's poop and your next house neighbor and your grandma and your milkman for your failures, right? If you can't find good clients, if you can't filter good clients, if you can't communicate, it's your problem. It's not your client's problem, right? Your client is held accountable only if he doesn't pay. Even if he doesn't pay, that's your problem. That's how I take it. If I find a client and he doesn't pay, then I take it on my own personal responsibility, because I think, what did I do wrong? Right? Okay, I did not take an advance. Okay, so which means next time onwards I have to change my process so that I get an advance. A person who's a loser is going to think, oh, but I cannot get advance. See, now you are blaming the system, blaming everybody around you. So you never even think about a solution. Your brain refuses to think about a solution outside this area. So I know this is not something you can change overnight, but I clearly recommend you to start changing it slowly. Every time you catch yourself blaming somebody, blaming something exterior, like, things are supposed to work some way and it's because of somebody's problem that it's affecting you, and you complain. A lot of complaining happens when you do this. Stop doing this. This is not good for life in general. This is not good for relationships. This is not good for business. This is not good for life at all. So stop complaining. Take personal responsibility for the way you feel and for everything that happens to you. All right? Because let's face it, you cannot control anything except the way you feel. Right? Things are always going to go wrong. You cannot control people all the time, but you can learn from your mistakes and slowly adapt to it and slowly enhance your process. All right, so if you guys now leave some comments below, but in specific I'll tell you what kind of comments to leave. Now I covered two topics. One is thinking in the long term, one is taking personal responsibility, and I told you that these two mindsets are going to help you quit your job. Right now, give me specific questions. I already gave you scenarios about when things go wrong, when a client doesn't pay. Give me more specific scenarios, and I can tell you how to take responsibility for them, or how to think in the long term and deal with them. And comment below. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you.